let's move on then. Let's move on to displaying the recovery phrase, which is another fairly easy one. And this is what we want to end up with, this recovery phrase. Let me stop my application, terminal, check out task 9. And my recovery phrase now should have, so it has this string, this text view, and it's waiting for these 12 words that the wallet has created for us. And that's probably one of the easiest of all the tasks. The recovery phrase fragment. And what we're doing is we're using the binding on line 34. I'm using this binding, and the ID of the text view that I want to use is recovery phrase. And I want to set the text of that text view to be whatever is returned by the repository.get mnemonic method. And that's it. So if I look at my repository, I find that the get mnemonic is really just a pull on the shared preferences. But this is an example of like the recovery phrase fragment not knowing about who's giving the mnemonic, like where is it coming from, why, like is it coming from a cache, is it coming from somewhere else, do we need to speak to the native library, do we have it saved in memory, all that stuff. The fragment doesn't need to know about it, and indeed shouldn't even know about it. So all it does is it speaks to the repository, and it says, can I get the mnemonic? And the mnemonic, the repository will say, well, I know what to do with it. But then that it's the work of the repository to make that kind of decision of like where to go to get that information, how to, maybe transform it if it needs to transformation, that sort of thing. So we're just returning it, and it's literally just a string. So as we get the string, we put it in the text box, in the text view, sorry. And let's fire this app. Okay. I'm going to sync again, transaction history. We're all there. Oh, notice that actually we've updated now. And I think at this point, that's because we might be on the version 0.3.0. So that's why the timestamp has been updated. And if I go into my overflow menu, my recovery phrase is there. Suspect, trend, people, snow, hotel. Yeah. How neat. How cool is that? Like, I mean, all of that complexity is handled by the Bitcoin Dev Kit. It just like comes for free. All you need to do is to say, it's what's happening, where it's coming from is in this create wallet method here, line 40. I tell my repository when I create a wallet, and this happens like only once, right? When I fire up the app, and if you don't have a wallet on device, you go into the choose wallet, and then you decide to either recover or create from scratch. And whichever you decide, you end up calling this create wallet method. And this create wallet method, at the end of it, it goes to the repository and it says, can you just save this mnemonic for me? And at that point, the repository has the mnemonic, and it can just give it to anybody that asks for it. And we're using the receive fragment. We're using, sorry, that thing. So pretty neat. At this point, we have saved our wallet. I mean, we're just like, we're firing. This is happening at this point. And I hope that you're starting to see a bit of that sort of like user interaction, the way we're using the app. It's a bit rough around the edges, and some things should be made much better, and some of those procedures that we're using should be broken into different parts, where maybe the UI tells you a bit more about what's happening before you move on to the next step. And again, to remind you of the use case for the app, just so we're clear, what we're trying to build here with this particular app is an app that works for developers. We're trying to build an app that developers can use to learn the Bitcoin DevKit API and how to use it. And so the end user, the person sending coins, is really not our focus, and we don't actually want to build bloat and extra things that make it difficult for the developer to learn the code base, but easier for the user. But if you're trying to build a real wallet, if you were to fork this to make your own thing, I mean, you should definitely. There's a lot of optimizations that need to happen here, and a lot of like signaling, a lot of like interaction with the user that need to happen. And you should check out the Bitcoin design guide again. I want to just like shill that project a little bit more. It's got a ton of stuff, at least to get you started on that journey of thinking through what's your end user trying to do, and what are you trying to achieve, right? So